So, why did you click on this explainer? What is it that makes you happy or anxious? Or why do you remember one person's birthday but totally forget another? Well, these are the exact kinds of questions at the very heart of psychology. And today, we're going to take a quick tour to find some answers. I mean, really think about it. It's a huge question, right? That completely unique mix of biology, your memories, your experiences, all the things that come together to make you, well, you. Psychology is basically the science that's dedicated to unpacking that very mystery. So, what is it officially? Psychology is the scientific study of our behavior and our minds. And the key word there is science. It's not just guesswork, it uses a systematic approach to figure out why we, as individuals, and even in big groups, do the things we do. To get our heads around this, we've got a clear path. First, we'll look at the mind's basic blueprint. Then, we'll meet some of the experts who study it, check out the cool tools they use, see it all in action out in the real world, and finally, we'll talk about why any of this really matters to you. Okay, first stop, the foundations. A good way to think about your mind is like a computer. To really get how it works, you've got to understand both the physical hardware and the software it's running. So let's start with the hardware. I'm talking about the physical stuff that runs the whole show. Your brain, all the wiring of your nervous system, and yeah, even the genetic code you were born with. Let's break that down. Think of your brain's structure, its neuroanatomy, as the computer itself. Then you have neurotransmitters, which are like the little chemical signals zipping through its circuits, affecting everything from your mood to your motivation. And genetics, well, that's kind of like the manufacturer's blueprint, the inherited traits that give you a starting point. Now, if biology is the hardware, then cognition is definitely the software. These are all the mental programs our minds are running every single second, just to process the world around us. For example, perception is how your brain is making sense of my voice right now. Attention is what allows you to tune out other noises in the room and focus on what I'm saying. And memory, that's what will, hopefully, help you remember all this cool stuff later on. Okay, so we've got the hardware and the software. But what about the power source? What actually gets us to, do things? Let's talk about the inner drives, our emotions and our motivations. You know what emotions are? Those complex feelings like joy, fear, or anger that kind of color our entire experience and guide how we react. And motivation? That's the why behind what we do. It's the engine that drives you to grab a snack, or to finish a big project, or even to watch this explainer in the first place. So we've got our internal wiring and our thought processes. But here's the thing, none of that exists in a bubble. The final piece of this puzzle is the massive influence of the world and the people all around us. A huge amount of what we learn comes from simply watching other people. That's social learning theory in a nutshell. And our culture? That gives us the whole context, shaping everything from our beliefs and values to how we even show emotion. So the big takeaway here is that who we are is a product of both nature and nurture. All right, let's switch gears. Now that we have the foundations, let's do a lightning-fast tour of how this science is actually practiced. See, psychology isn't just one thing. It's this huge world with tons of different specialists. For example, you have clinical psychologists who help people with their mental health, while social psychologists are busy studying how we act differently when we're in a group. Then there's IO psychologists making our workplaces better, and forensic psychologists applying all this to the legal system. You've even got educational psychologists figuring out how we learn, and health psychologists exploring that crucial link between our minds and our bodies. It's a massive, diverse field. So, how do all these experts actually discover anything? What makes psychology a real science? Well, the answer is in the toolkit, the methods they use to study the mind. This isn't just about opinions, it's a systematic process. Two of the biggest tools are experiments, which let us pin down cause and effect, and correlational studies, which just show that two things are related. Now, this is super important. Correlation is not causation. For example, ice cream sales and shark attacks are correlated. They both go up in the summer. But eating ice cream doesn't cause shark attacks. A third thing, hot weather, causes both. You've got to remember that difference. And the toolkit doesn't stop there. Psychologists use surveys to get data from thousands of people at once. They use observational studies to just watch behavior as it happens naturally. And they use super in-depth case studies to do a deep dive on one unique person or situation to get really rich insights. Okay, this is where it all comes together. We've talked about the theories and the tools, but how does any of this actually show up in the real world? Well, let's take a look at how these principles are being used all around us, every single day. The reach of psychology is just massive. It gives us powerful therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, for things like anxiety. It helps companies design better, more productive workplaces. It tells teachers how to help students learn more effectively. It even gives athletes mental tools to perform under pressure and helps make our justice system a little bit fairer. Seriously, its impact is everywhere. So, we're nearing the end of our tour. We have covered a ton of ground, from a single neuron all the way up to entire societies. But let's zoom out for a second and ask the biggest question of all. Why does any of this actually matter? Well, first, and maybe most importantly, it gives us the tools to understand and treat mental illness. The evidence-based therapies that have come out of psychological research can truly, profoundly improve and even save lives. This might just be its most vital contribution to the world. But beyond that, it also helps us just be better. By understanding what motivates us, how we learn, how we think, we can literally optimize our performance in school, at our jobs, on the sports field, pretty much any part of our life where we want to improve. And finally, on the broadest level, psychology simply helps us live better lives. It gives us insights into how to build stronger relationships, how to become more resilient when we face challenges, and really, how to foster a greater sense of well-being and satisfaction with our lives. So, we've given you a basic map of the mind. We've looked at its foundations, some of its main pathways, and a few of its hidden corners. The tour is over, but the real question is, how will you use this map to better understand your own world? Thanks for joining me.